little bit of extra light, and welcome back. I'm gonna do another one today. It's kind of funny. Sometimes I'll go weeks and even a month or two, or so, give or take, without doing a video, and then get a hair up my yang, and it's time to do a couple of them. It helps when you got the parts and parts are in hand, and you can do what you need to do instead of what you'd like to do and talk about. So today we are going to build a drag race concepts rear motor transmission. These have been around a little bit. This is for their Slash drag pack, but it also fits on the LCG Slash and most of your typical Slash type drag builds. It's a really nice transmission. Everything I've got online looks good. Obviously, the manufacturer site's going to be nothing but glowing details. I already cut it open and looked at it. It becomes sealed. There's a little seal you got to cut open. I already had that done. I've seen a few videos of people on Facebook and a few other places, talking about it, and a video or two of them running. I thought that's a nice little piece. I think we're going to look at that. They're not bad price. This is just a tranny case with the carbon fiber motor mount. This piece is $69. It's just cases. I've opened it up and taken a look at it. It's very nicely done. But it's $69 for the set of cases. That's a little bit more expensive than some of the other cases out there. For instance, I know NTG sells it, and I'm not an NTG fan because of business practices. Not that their stuff is that bad or that crappy. NTG's equipment and gear is pretty decent. I'm not a real big fan of their business practices. I've seen a lot of companies in the last 15, 20 years develop parts, put them on the market, and the next thing you know, NTG selling the same part under their label for half or 2/3 the cost. And the original person or the company who designed and put all the time and research and development into the part ends up going out of business. Traxxas, in a way, is like that. They don't quite do it the same way. They're more about copyright infringement on the Max name. But they're just as ruthless in that respect. So I'm not a big fan of that either. Other than that, the rigs are good. And they are an American company for the most part. But yeah, so I'm not a huge anything. But they make a case. STRC makes a case. There's, of course, the RPM cases that are plastic. But when it comes to metal cases, this is $70. I believe the energy case is $55 or $60, $63. STRC is like $50, $55. I think hot racing cases $50 or $55. So for an extra $15, you're going to get a bit more than just a copy of the plastic transmission case that a typical Slash has, or the RPM version, which is what this is. In my red shift unit for the Chuckworks, that's got, I'm sorry, it's in my tarp right now. Do it this way, or the Pro line tranny. So I've got one Pro line tranny built out, one RPM as a spare, one RPM built in the red shift, and things trannies will be getting swapped around here in the next couple days, and then the tranny here. And this one's a little built stock tranny, but it's got a hot racing diff case in it. This one's got a hot racing diff case in it. No, I'm sorry. This one doesn't have a hot racing diff case in it. This one has a locker. This has the hot racing heavy duty locker in it. Other than that, it is pretty much stock. This one, this Pro line, is just filled with 200,000 weight oil or fluid, and then it's got fast steady ceramic bearings. Now this will end up in the red shift. But as a comparison, Drag Race Concepts, as you can see, they've it's really close. I mean, there is a little bit difference here, but they've done a little adjustment on the inside of the case. You can see this on the outside. So it is pretty much a carbon copy of the stock pieces. And one thing here, you can buy these toe plates on the Drag Race Concepts. These mount and dismount. You screw them in from the inside. You can get a 0, which is what these come with, 0-degree toe in the back, or you can get them with I think they got a 3-degree toe on the toe plates for your rear arms. This is a 0 degree because I think your rear feels to be steer 0, and if I want to throw a little caster in there, I can get some rear cast blocks with a little caster and add that in there. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to build this Drag Race Concepts tranny. I'm going to use the locker out of this case. I'm going to use I got a hot racing aluminum diff in here, so it's nice and lightweight for less rotating mass. I'm going to take this aluminum hot racing piece out of here, and then I'm going to turn around and put in the Drag Race Concepts Traxxas top shaft for the team associated slipper clutch. You don't have to get the slipper clutch and stuff before I get that far. So basically I'm going to be disassembling a couple trannies, taking this one out of here, popping the parts off, taking these two trannies apart, putting them in that, and what these are is, as I said in my other trannies, I got the fast eddy ceramic bearings, but with these are the backyard RC. I went ahead and got a hold of Justin, talked to him a little bit, picked up a couple sets of his ceramic bearings for the Bandit. These are all 5x11 by 4, 4x11 by 5s, 5x11 by 4, 5x11 by 4, whatever the stock bearing is that goes in these. Drag Race Concepts uses the same bearings that are in your Traxxas trannies. So I'm going to be putting the backyard RC. I'll be putting their ceramic bearings into the Drag Race Concepts transmission case with 0-degree toes, and they'll be fulfilled. Let me see if I can find the little lid here. Where's my other little puppies? I have a little lid down here somewhere that I could set screws and stuff into. Okay, here, we're going to do it this way. I'm going to put them in the Drag Race Concept box and make it easy. But so, and then I'm going to build the Drag Race Concepts tranny, of course, with the backyard RC ceramic bearings, hot racing stock diff case out of this, the hot racing heavy duty locker, and I got to remember to lock tight my grub screws. When I put this together, I forgot to do that, so this gives me the opportunity to do that along the way. We're just going to lift these two up so I can get that out of there a little bit easier. But yes, do the hot racing diff case. I'm sorry, hot racing idler gear with the Drag Race Concepts team associated slipper clutch setup for their Traxxas tranny, and you could, I think they got a version of this thing. I don't know if this is the same one. This is sold as slightly different, but I think it's the same unit that you can just buy this team associate or this Drag Race Concepts top shaft, put it on your stock Traxxas tranny or RPM Traxxas base tranny, and then run the team associated clutch in it. I'm looking at getting the VTX system, I think is what I'm going to get. Now, put this bad boy over. Get these two out. Pull this up a little bit. Getting a little bad end here on my driver, I think. Of course, I could pull that out. Probably make it a little bit. That does have a better end on it too. A little faster as well. That's a little easier. But there's something to be said about actually using the arm and doing the work. The easier life becomes, the softer we become as people say humans. I don't like the word humans. I think humans is a bad word. I like the word mankind myself. The softer mankind becomes, the more technology makes life, quote, easier. When people get soft, they don't know how to deal with things like stress and problems and issues and things like that. Okay, so get that loose. I have to find myself some M4 countersunks. These are stainless steel, and I'm not a fan of running stainless steel bolts into aluminum, even anodized aluminum parts. You know, people say they do it all the time, they have no problems, but I have had myself and have talked to people over my lifetime who use stainless steel and aluminum, like back in the old two-stroke motorcycle days. That stainless steel will null that aluminum. It'll gnaw it right out and just chew those threads up, and you'll be screwed because you'll be losing threads in your aluminum parts and trying to fix that. So I'm not a fan of using stainless steel inside my aluminum pieces. So I will have to come up with some non-stainless steel to do the final mount. I'll use these for now and just set them in there loosely in the aluminum. But yeah, just be aware, fair warning, not an opinion, it's just the way things have been. The anodized aluminum really makes a difference because as long as that anodizing layer is there, it helps protect the aluminum to a point, so the stainless steel don't really bite into the softer aluminum and all that end up. But nonetheless, it will and can do it because that aluminum anodizing will wear off and expose the raw aluminum, and that stainless steel will bite onto that raw aluminum and just rip it right out with the threads on the bolt. So, yep, not a fan of it myself. If it happens, just remember I told you so. You heard it here, not first, not second, but you heard it here again. Stainless steel and aluminum, bolts don't. Stainless steel bolts don't go into aluminum pieces. Just the way it is. All right, we'll slide this aside for now. Put this one here just for the minute. Put this one here, just so we can kind of take a look and do a little maybe comparison and see any differences. Really not much differences. Not with the rear motors. They're all kind of set up the same. Motor comes off as you're looking at the back of the buggy. You're looking from the back side. Motor's going to come off to the right. Excuse me. Pardon me. Goodness. Sneezy. To the right side of the tranny. Shaft's going to come out to the left. They're all pretty much the same. A lot of people like the Proline tranny. It's well built. Rolls pretty smooth. Not little resistance, but it still, isn't great. I've got a little thicker grease in here. I use marine grease to grease up the bearings. I'm sorry, the gears. And it's a little thicker. I did get it in a little thick on that one, but so you can see they're pretty much the same size. Everything else, not really that much difference in them. Especially this is a little bit more squared off because it is an aluminum milled piece as opposed to blow molded or injection molded plastic like the rest of these are. A lot of people like to try RPMs, but RPM has softer plastic, which is why they're plastic. Flexes more than stock Traxxas or other brands. That flex can be good on a dirt rig in a bouncer. Not so good on a street rig where you really need that rigidity, especially in like corners. So you won't find a lot of people using RPM on their on-road race cars because it's just too soft plastic. It flexes too much. It's come into the drag race area. A lot of people are using their arms, but be aware that is softer plastic. That plastic gets warm and it will be softer than the stock plastic. That flex will allow movement. That movement will allow shifting, and that shifting will stop you from going straight. And the whole purpose of drag racing is going straight. And it's kind of a funny thing because most people think you're going straight, how hard can it be? Until they grab the trigger and keep spinning out and get frustrated after 10 minutes because they can't even get 10 feet down out of a launch without spinning out. And I'm guilty doing that right now. I'm just learning how to drag race. I've had drag racing experience, but I did it with my 5th scale Baja 5B. HPI Baja 5B back in the late 2000s. It came out like 2007, I think it was, 2006, whatever. We got them brand new. Yeah, that might have been 2006. And we were dry racing those in sand drags, a lot, dirt drags. Not really on-road drags. People were on-road dragging them right now all over the place still, even though HPI hasn't made it in 7-8 years now, because a Chinese company made exact duplicates, slight differences, sold them for $400, and HPI, who put all the time, the money, the research, and development into making the HPI Baja 5B and then the 5T, were basically undersold by a Chinese knockoff company, kind of like Entity. And so this is why I have a little issue with that. I mean, number one, it put a good company who was developing good stuff, and not even really so much. HPI was an American company, but it was still mostly a Japan company, I believe. But they had an American headquarters. They were kind of based here, but everything was done over in the Euro-Asia, basically China, Japan, Taiwan, in those areas, which is absolutely great. But the problem is, when the other company sold the their Baja 5B for $450, everybody's like, well, why would I spend 900 or 1,000 on this HPI? I can get this on 500, same thing, right? Now not, because okay, this company has actually developed a few different things. They got a 4-wheel drive Baja 5B set up now. So they did a little bit of their own, but they basically stole other companies' ideas and worked them into the Baja that they made, and now they got a 4-wheel drive Baja set up. So innovation is something that comes with big companies that you don't get with companies that just steal ideas, because they just keep stealing ideas. They don't make any new ideas. They just reuse old ones. And yeah, a lot of money can be made reusing old ideas. You can put good companies out of business. So yeah, I do have my problems with this kind of business practice. You want to be in competition, great, but let's not be snakes about it, because obviously that's caused a lot of problems and part of why we in America are where we're at right now. So anyways, got that tranny out. Let me get the arms off here. Those are the bigger ones too. I should put my eyes on so I can see. Now, yeah, in this rig I do have just stock. I didn't get the STRC hinge pins for this rig. Let me actually put that there. Make it a little bit easier. I could have, I possibly should have, but saving some pennies here and there. Stock hinge pins work just fine on stock setups, but because I am putting this in here as a setup, I probably will get some STRC hinge pins soon and get those in and get those in place, because they do work a little bit better than the stocks in that respect. And I need to put some eyes on so I can see a little bit better here. I don't want that one to do this. That's the one I need. That's kind of sloppy. I don't want that one either. I got one in here that's a little bit better than the rest, especially in these MIPs. It's about the same, but maybe a little better. Let me check my units here. Let's roll that. That's real sloppy. Very sloppy. A couple more here that might be better fitting. I think this one's, yeah, no, not really much better. A little better than that. Sounds like Mr. Mailman. Bring me some parts. I got some more no prep stuff left in my parts. Mr. Mailman. Yeah, that one's the one. That's the one. something else kind of funky here too. I want to check before I take this right apart. I was getting a catch in here. I didn't notice it when I first put it together, put it up. I'm listening for the Mamax. I might have to walk outside. Sign something. Don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it wasn't. These can all. Go back over here. Okay. Right there. I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to look at that when I get inside. There's a catch in there for something. That wouldn't have been very good anyway. Still in there. So, anyway, some companies' business practices are kind of less than tasteful. Whatever it is, it's still there. Alright, no worries. These out. And then so I don't mix up any of the screws. These are all going in there. See, all this stuff's new. It's never been ran. Nothing in here used. Built it up, and then the DRC cases were back in stock. And I said, okay, sold like a bad habit. These are all stock bearings in here. I don't have anything. Take that little spacer out. So I'll probably want that in there. Make sure everything's nice and snug in there. These are all just stock Traxxas bearings. Nothing ceramic in this one. And I've marked this hot racing locker, so I knew exactly what it was. And this is the hot racing aluminum diff gear. And this is what I wanted out of this tranny as well. I guess I did put that one in there. Maybe I won't have to take that one apart. And then our top shaft. Slide that out and off. Take our other spacer, leave it over here. Okay. Grab this bearing. It can go, that goes in that piece. Anywho, right there. So I can put it on that one. These two can just slip back together. Poopy. Threw them all over the place. this one. Snap back up for a minute, darn you. Come on. I'm just going to snug it together with one bolt for now. Keep it together. Now, hot racing aluminum diff. Traxxas top shaft. Now I know it's a Mike Garcia, I believe. Michael Garcia is making titanium. I'll put this right there. Titanium Mod 1 gears for these trannies. Nice pieces of work. I hear a lot of people screaming about how beautiful they are. Of course, titanium is going to be lighter than steel, stronger than the aluminum, a little bit heavier than the aluminum, but stronger. So it will really take some abuse. I haven't decided to go that route. His top shafts, titanium top shafts, I think are $35 for the top shaft. The diff, I'm not sure if it's just like this back housing piece or exactly what it is, but he's got a diff case set up. It might be an entire titanium case. I don't know, that you put all your regular diff gears in or your locker into. I'm not sure because I don't have any. I've never seen them in hand. But if you get his Mod 1 gears, the entire set, I believe it's $135, but it's all titanium. So it's worth the money. The machining on that would be a bit of a bitch. Cutting machining titanium ain't exactly you need pricey tools to cut that stuff and cut it well. And I've heard nobody say anything but top quality stuff about the quality of his work. So that's something for you to think about. I've thought about it, and I may go that route at some rate. I don't mind spending the money, but sometimes there's a limit, sometimes there's not. But yeah, a lot of people are saying nothing but great things about the Mod 1 titanium gears for the Traxxas trannies, and I believe again that's Mike Garcia who's making and selling those. I believe that is his name. I may be mistaken. So don't hold me 100% to that. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't mind getting some and trying them out. But that's going to have to wait until I can hopefully get back to work, which, maybe. I heard talk to my contact yesterday, so there's a possibility of some work coming out. We'll see what the state does, though. Otherwise, I'm shit out of luck. Hurry up and wait for unemployment to get their stuff into gear and living that role. All right, so we are going to take some. I really probably should, but Justin said these were already well bearinged out of the factory, and they do feel good. Oh yeah. I'll have to get some oil and get oil in these things. It's just so I've got them lubricated well. And what I did, because a lot of times these bearings, races all look the same, I take my ceramic bearings, and I'll take a little black marker, and I'll just write a little mark on it, looking like a C halfway around it, to show that it's actually ceramic bearing. And I do that on both sides, no matter which way you can install it. Whether it's because the Team Fast Eddie bearings, they come with blue races, just like the Traxxas, look almost identical. You really can't tell them apart. So with that being said, that's why you want to make sure you do it the other way. And that is something I didn't buy with these. They make their own shaft, and I believe they're only $2. I forgot to order them when I ordered them. So I'm going to take that back apart and use that one out of there. 3, 4, Takes 7 bearings total to build a Traxxas transmission. Those are if you're using all stock style parts. The Proline diff has oversized bearings, which is why you can't use the Proline diff in the Traxxas diff case. I'm sorry. Yes, that's why you can't use the Proline diff in the Traxxas diff case, because the Proline bearings on the diff are oversized. So they're too big for the Traxxas cases. The diffs are too big because you need a larger bearing, and the Traxxas cases aren't machined for that larger race. So with that being said, put that together real quick. Finish it up. I need my. Well, this is actually just a piece of hardened steel that I cut off the length I needed because I didn't have another centerpiece. Now what they did, one of the things Drag Race Concepts did here, and they talked about this, is they realigned everything. You know, now this is what they mean. That's a big difference in why ceramics do what they do. And I'll show you this here. I can pop that one back up, and basically this shaft setup here. On this DRC, this particular idler shaft, this sets out higher than the, that's the wrong one, that sets out farther than the other piece, so it holds that bearing thing out there. And look at that, the ceramic bearings and this drag race concept. I mean, that thing just spins and spins, and less resistance, and the tranny is going to be more speed on the wheel. Now you gotta watch what you're doing, because if you put this thing in here backwards, look at your gear lineup. Let's turn this around. Look how far that is off. It's halfway. Now the Traxxas setup, this center idler gear doesn't always line up well. Even when you take this thing, that's in the wrong way, you spin it around, get it in the right direction. Now look at your lineup. You can see that gear is lined up with the piece here. So those gears are actually running tooth to tooth. You can see a little bit better on this side. I'm trying to get a little bit better peek here with some light. But those teeth are fully engaged all the way across the face of the idler gear. So the idler gear isn't going to run just partially on the diff case. They realigned those settings and did a little design change inside that puts those gears in clean alignment across the face of the teeth. So when you get everything put together and lined up, everything meshes smoothly. And of course, it's an aluminum case, well manufactured aluminum case. So not only is everything, you know, stuck together smoothly, it stays together nice and smoothly. And the aluminum case holds everything in nice place. Going on there kind of tight there. I'm going to have to get that on. That shouldn't be that tight. Let me pop this off here. Can. That's pretty clean in there. Let me go ahead and slip a little bit of a drop of oil on it. And I'm going to use this silicone oil, shock oil, just to put a little lube. Actually, let me go ahead and put it on the shaft. A little lube on this aluminum shaft. One. Got the cap in that one. Alright, I guess we're going to use the. Do I have the cap in the 50? No. I'm going to use the 50 weight. Just a drop. And they've got a hardened cross pin in their piece here. Line them up, and then it's got to get tapped together. So, let's see, I don't have my hammer. A little tiny hammer, so this will work. And gently give her some tap until she's well seated. Not quite lined up. That may be a little bare. Let me see if I can get this fixed up. Gears are slightly off just a little bit from my teeth placement, so I gotta turn it just a smidge. Tap it in the rest of the way so it's seated. There we go. Make sure she's well seated in there. Give her one good swat here. There. Little bit of gentle persuasion. Put that 22 nut on there. Slide that out there. Almost looks like it rides there. Let me make sure these are well seated. Because they do have the tolerances tight. I was going in my 13.5 rig, so I'm going to run a locker in my 13.5 with the AE slipper clutch to allow a little bit of slip away. This will be running the, I'll be putting the McLaren MX 160 with the drag, with the DRK Lite software on it, so I'll have a 3-stage launch out of it too. So that should really make it quite a bit better. Look at that. That's the difference with a ceramic bearing and a well-machined system. Look at that thing just go. Keeping it straight here. It looks at an angle view, but I got it level. So it just is riding on the races like it should. That is pretty. Now it's going to slop a little bit here because this diff is slopping a little bit. Actually does. Okay, that's right. I knew I was forgetting something. I'm forgetting my little spacers that are going on your diff. That's why she's got a little rub right there. So you take your spacer, gotta have that little shim, give you just that little bit of difference. That's what I missed earlier. And this one, get this one on this side. It's still a little off. Actually, I may Let's see how we do with two spacers there, because I can maybe run over to Drag Race Concepts website and see what they say. We give a little bit more distance there and see what that does for the lineup. That still keeps it right. Now I got one more tiny thin shim here. Let me dig my stuff out of the way, get my spring stuff out of the way that I just stuck all over top of everything. If I need a couple more. This isn't one of those shims, this is a different one. Well, with two on the one side, the one on that side, and we're going to close her up. So I try to close her up the right way, huh? Okay. What am I missing here? First of all, I got that going out the wrong way. Snuggy fit going in there. That's tight. That's good though. Okay. It's down low. Sorry, you guys look at me doing nothing. I got this thing all held up, not even seeing it. Okay. That baby just spin. That is pretty. One longer one that goes in there. Yeah, I'll have to open this back up a little bit here because I got a couple things I'm looking at. Because that allows me to do a little grease. I got to get a rubber plug for this back side. I'm not sure what I got to do for that though. I'll have to take a look at Drag Race Concepts page to figure that out a little bit. And I'm just snugging these up. I'm not putting any Loctite on them yet. When I go for my full final assembly, I will. And I'm almost there. I'm going to see what I got to do about this plug on the back. I didn't get one with it, although it seems like I should have. There should have been a little plug in the piece, but I don't find one and didn't see one. So I'll have to take a look and see what I come up with, what they have, what it says. I probably have to buy a small plug like would be on the end of the thing. That might work, but I think that's going to be way too big for that. Snug this up. Get some lube. Throw it around, Jim. Throw it around. And of course, lube at the bottom a little bit with a little bit of oil. Whatever was hanging up in that other Was it in that other tranny? It's not doing it now. Okay. And that's it. Drag Race Concepts tranny built. And more for that one. So I believe that gets a bearing on the back of it as well. And that if it was stock, that bearing would be there. I don't know about the VXL clutch system or the TA clutch system slippers. I got to get one of those and figure that out. It may not use a bearing on that right there, like the Traxxas piece does. But that's where the last bearing on this Traxxas piece will go right here. And of course, I'll probably put in some shims. Pop it back open and write a couple shims on each side just so everything's good. But you don't want too much in there. You can put too many shims and that's going to push things too far apart. But basically that's it. This would be ready to throw back together. Now I've got a Traxxas training case that's empty and nothing to put in it. Still got a spare RPM. But yeah, there we go. Throw your drive shafts back on, tighten them back up, a little bit of lube. They got ceramic bearing lube. Justin from Backyard RC sells the ceramic bearing lube. There's Trinity ceramic bearing, all the motor companies with Trinity, as you said, Tekin, Phantom, McLaren, they're all got like ceramic motor bearing oil or bearing oil that's made for your ceramic bearings. So you can get some of that. There's a lot of different options for good oil to be used. Okay, that's for that other train because this piece goes out of the other train. A lot of good options for other oils that can be used. I've got my own solution. I'm not going to say what it is. It's just a high quality, oil. Nothing specific or special. No secret. Just a good high quality oil for that high heat ceramic bearings. You can get a ceramic bearing oil. You can get specific, but there's other companies out there that make really good high quality oil. It's not specifically ceramic bearing oil. Don't have to spend that extra money on quote unquote ceramic bearing oil. A lot of good high temperature oils out there in the other industries, gun manufacturing as in, for instance. Put a little oil in your bearings, a little oil on your, or just high sticky, but just a little bit of grease on your teeth and keep them together. So we got a Drag Race Concepts tranny. I don't know if I can get a weight on that now. Measure it in comparison to the piece that may be too heavy with this little scale. Drag Race Concepts tranny with Backyard RC ceramic bearings. Drag Race Concepts. See that? We'll get rid of that. We'll put some shims in there, and that's why you want to get rid of that shimming and stuff because that ain't good either. So I definitely have to do some shimming in this thing to keep this thing out all the way. So I'll have to put a little spacer on the back. Whatever I got to do in this plug. Maybe there's something I can put in there. I don't know. That is a lot of play in there. But I can put some spacers on the front. I can't do it there either. Oh, maybe. Might be able to put a spacer in there when the piece goes on for the bearing. So I'll have to double check that. Tranny or diff case, no slop. No slop. It's tight. There's no bind. It moves nice and smooth. So yeah, get yourself some good oil. Lube up your bearings just a little bit on the outside, and you spin them and let that oil work itself in a little bit. Wipe off the excess when you're done. Install them. A little bit of lube on your gears. You really, a lot of people are using oil. The oil will spin off and slick off, so you really thick grease. That's why I used marine grease. I just had a lot on this one. If I take it apart, and you can see there's a little bit more probably marine grease in there that I want to have putting it together. But this is going to go into my 13.5 runner. So let's see if we can get a weight of this thing pretty much ready. 150.9 grams. So 150.9 grams. Let me grab my bag. Where? Yes, I know you're getting hungry. We'll go get you dinner in a minute. There it is. Okay. Look, you can get up here. Slide off there, kitty. Say 150.9 grams. This is a RPM tranny. This has a hot racing diff with 200,000 diff oil, a hot racing aluminum diff or aluminum idler gear, and then stock Traxxas stuff, and I believe stock bearings. I don't believe I have normal ones. So this combo is 150.3 grams. So RPM tranny with hot racing diff with 500,000 or 200,000 diff oil, hot racing aluminum idler gear, stock Traxxas top shaft and stock Traxxas 22 tours top shaft gear, RPM cases, 150.4 grams, drag race concepts cases. Well, they're showing 151, so it was 150.9, so 151 grams, so 0.6 grams more. And the difference is watch the dry shafts here. That, so it's 6.6 grams heavier, half a gram heavier, and no oil in this yet. That's good tranny. It's almost no resistance. And of course this one has a locker and this one has diff oil in it, but at the end of the day, compared to, and listen to that noise too. Compared to this, which is all lubed up. Now it could be some mold slight differences where the teeth aren't quite lined up in all the gears, adding that extra noise. That could be just stock bearings making that extra noise. But the biggest thing is there's no rollout. I mean, there's no continued rollout. It just spins for a couple of revolutions at max and stops. Where the drag race concepts with the re-lined up gearing, aluminum, of course, there's a difference. Non-ceramic bearings to ceramic bearings. Now I got my other Traxxas unit, and I'll bring that up. That does have ceramic bearings all the way through it, but it's still got a bit of bind and not real runoff because not only is it ceramic bearing, but it's just a stock Traxxas case, so not everything's lined up. Now I've seen a couple guys, like I said, this is what they were doing on the one video I seen, and that thing ran for about 2 minutes. So I've got to do a little bit of work yet. I've got to get that little bit of shake and movement will take away from the rotation. That one's good. I got to double check my inner shaft and make sure that's not too tight. That could be just a little snug in there with the 2 shims I did put in there on the unit, so I may have to take one of those out, put it back on the last side, but it's snug. It's not going anywhere, and it doesn't feel like it's too snug. The cases are snug together, so I think this is going to work out great. So yeah, we're looking at half a gram difference between these 2 trannies. The RPM tranny, again, hot racing diff case, 200,000 diff weight, hot racing aluminum diff idler gear, Traxxas top shaft and Traxxas top shaft gear, in a just stock stock bearings, in an RPM case. 6.6 grams more, half a gram more, much more durable case. This thing ain't gonna flex. It's gonna mount solid. Realign gears, add ceramic bearings, get them lubed up right. this is going to be a winning case because it's going to take everything you can throw at it and run butter smooth. And that's the big one. So I'm going to wait to put this all stuff back together because there's other things I want to do in this point. So I'm kind of separating things and getting them done. And be putting them back together again. So there we go. Thanks a lot. Talk to you at the next video. Thanks. Bye. Oh, yeah. Like, subscribe, share, because I'd like to try to build the channel. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks. And gals.